welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we're going to focus on the participation of Egypt, being represented by Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa in the Board of Peace meeting that took place in Washington under the chairmanship of the US President Donald Trump, to be finding solutions for the conflicts all over the world, the global conflicts, and more specifically for the Palestinian cause and the current situation in the Gaza Strip, and the implementation of the second phase of the ceasefire agreement that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh under the chairmanship of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the American President. Of course, the participation of Prime Minister Madbouli was on behalf of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And to be shedding more light on such an important topic, I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight for the Daily Debate Dr. Mostafa Abbas, the international relations expert. Dr. Mostafa, thank you very much for being with us tonight, and happy Ramadan.
Thank you, and happy Ramadan to you and to all the viewers.
Anytime. First of all, we'll be starting with a report about the meeting that took place in Washington on the 19th of February, and the statements released by Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli regarding the efforts of Egypt, the role of Egypt in training the Palestinian police forces on the ground in the Gaza Strip, as well as the humanitarian and the diplomatic efforts to be alleviating the burdens on the citizens of the Strip. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
Sisi Prime Minister Mostafa Madbouli participated in the first meeting of Board of Peace in Washington. The Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to US President Donald Trump for convening the Board of Peace's first meeting. He emphasized that without the United States President's direct involvement and commitment to regional stability, the cessation of the war in Gaza would not have been possible. The Prime Minister affirmed Egypt's full support for President Trump's plan to establish a new era of peace and coexistence. He underscored that this vision must ensure that Palestinian people enjoy the right to self-determination and establishment of a sovereign state in accordance with international law. Furthermore, he emphasized Egypt's appreciation for President Trump's stance against the annexation of the West Bank. Madbouli highlighted the critical importance of maintaining a connection between the West Bank and Gaza Strip, enabling the Palestinian Authority to resume its governance responsibilities. He expressed Egypt's formal support for the Board of Peace mandate as the supreme body managing the transitional period in Gaza. During his address, the Prime Minister stressed the necessity of empowering Palestinians to manage their own affairs through the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza. He noted that this committee must be granted the capacity to operate effectively from within Gaza Strip and across all its territories. Madbouli also emphasized the importance of defining specific tasks for Gaza Executive Council to support the National Committee's work. He affirmed Egypt's ongoing commitment to training Palestinian police officers to maintain internal security and order within Gaza Strip. The inaugural Board of Peace meeting comes amid ongoing diplomatic efforts in Gaza and laid the groundwork for a transitional governance and reconstruction framework, with regional and international stakeholders seeking sustainable political settlement. The Board of Peace, chaired by US President Donald Trump, brings together 27 members, including 8 Arab and Islamic countries. First floated in September 2025 and formally launched in January, the body was conceived as an international platform to craft sustainable solutions to regional and global conflicts, with primary focus on the Palestinian issue. Mandated by the United Nations through the end of 2027, the Council is entrusted with overseeing the implementation of Gaza ceasefire agreement and advancing governance and reconstruction arrangements in the Strip.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate. Dr. Mostafa, Abbas, how did you see the core message of the event, the Board of Peace meeting that was held in Washington in the United States of America, and the participation of Egypt? How do you see the significance of this participation?
Oh, the significance of the participation is taken for granted because Egypt plays an essential role when it comes to Gaza. Nobody else, literally nobody else globally can imitate the role or can play the role of Egypt. Egypt is an integral part of the whole of Gaza as an entity. The latest meeting which you mentioned in your report is very significant in a number of ways. Significant in the sense that this is the first time that is mentioned clearly that Gaza is linked to the West Bank. This strategically is very important. I hope this will come true because on the ground things are quite to the opposite. The fact that the Prime Minister emphasized on this and nobody objected, I think this is a plus. This is very good, and this again indicates the essential role played by Egypt when it comes to Gaza. Everybody else will contribute, as far as I understand. Indonesia will contribute 8,000 troops to supervise the ceasefire. It's not a ceasefire, it's a subsiding of exchange of fire, or a lull in a sense. And other countries will provide different kinds of assistance, like Saudi Arabia promised to pay $1 billion over 3 years, etc., etc. Egypt's role is to train the police. Now we come to the nitty-gritty of things when it comes to Gaza. The groundwork would be laid by the hands of the Egyptians. This is all the more proper. That's why I believe that Egypt's role is pivotal, is essential, and participation in the meeting, that is the meeting of the Board of Peace, is essential, is very important. And again, as I said, it indicates two things. First thing is the link between Gaza and the Western Bank. The second thing is, one by one, this Board of Peace is replacing the Security Council of the United Nations, as far as I can see. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I can see it.
Yes, Doctor, please allow me to be going to, on the phone, Ambassador Mu'taz Ahmadin, to be shedding more light on the essential role that you just mentioned of Egypt. Ambassador Mu'taz Ahmadin, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you for calling, and let me wish you and wish my dear friend Mostafa Abbas a happy Ramadan.
A happy Ramadan to you too, Mr. Ambassador. Dr. Mostafa mentioned the importance of the essential role being played by Egypt, specifically after participating in the Board of Peace meeting that took place in Washington, being represented by Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli on behalf of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. How do you see the future role of Egypt in the Gaza Strip, especially after the participation in the Board of Peace meeting?
Well, I think the role of Egypt in the Gaza Strip does not need any more emphasis. It is not related at all with the participation in the Board of Peace. It is related to geography, to history, and to the role played by Egypt in the Palestinian question and with Gaza. Regarding the Board of Peace, I'm not very optimistic because the optics were not good from the start. First, let us talk about the optics. It started on the first day of Ramadan, which reflects indifference, if not disrespect, of the Islamic countries participating, because they have not been consulted. And as you know, the Gulf countries do reduce their diplomatic activity in Ramadan, and Mostafa Abbas, as an old hand in the United Nations, knows that very well. Second, optically, if you look at the screen in front of you, Does the colors of the Board of Peace remind you of the flag of a certain entity? This is another optic that was not good. And about the optics and the protocol as well, it looked like an informal meeting. President Trump spoke for 45 minutes plus, and each and every head of government or state participating was not allowed more than 2 minutes and a half, 3 minutes. President Trump was speaking informally, trying to laugh with this president or prime minister or making fun of one another, and it didn't look that he's taking it seriously. He's taking the participants for granted. In addition to all of that, substantively, we can see that they were talking about a reconstruction plan for Gaza.
Yes.
This is not the reconstruction plan that has been presented by Egypt and endorsed by the Arab and Islamic summit that took place in Cairo last March. Rather, it is the Riviera plan. Both Jared Kushner and one of the businessmen that were supposed to present the plan, Mark Ross, I remember his name as well, mentioned the Riviera. In addition to all of that, this plan has been developed by Yasir Bagai. He is an Israeli businessman who is working on the construction business, and Jared Kushner himself in Davos mentioned that he is the one that prepared the plan. Moreover, we had a new figure presenting a part of this plan, Mr. Liran Tankman, which is a former Mossad agent who was involved in the development of the humanitarian Gaza Foundation. Jared Kushner even had the audacity during the meeting to mention that Liran Tankman told him that it was not proper for him to participate in this meeting, but then Jared Kushner had the audacity to tell the meeting that he said, no, you should participate, and this is the purpose of the meeting, of having everyone together. So I'm not optimistic at all, and if there is any reconstruction, I don't see any place for the Palestinians, but some place for hotels and gambling and touristic resorts. But the only problem that makes me a little bit optimistic is that the Palestinians are still there, and they are the ones who are controlling the seashore. This is a big obstacle to the plans of President Trump and company, and that is why Israel is keeping demolishing the houses and the infrastructure in Gaza, and that they mention every now and then that they are not going to withdraw from Gaza, of course, to make life for the Palestinians difficult and to drive them to leave. But so far they are standing, and of course they have the support of Egypt and many Arab countries, and we'll see how the events are going to turn at the end.
Yes, Ambassador Mu'taz Ahmadin, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate. Mr. Ambassador was not very optimistic about the Board of Peace meeting that took place on Thursday, as he mentioned, the first day of Ramadan. Would you agree with Ambassador Mu'taz?
Yes, I do agree with him, because sometimes they say form is more important than substance, sometimes. I'm not saying this is always, but this sometimes is the case. You have to respect the cultural identity of the sides. Not only the sides, the main sides. So the Palestinians are Muslims, we in Egypt are Muslims, most of the area concerned is inhabited by Muslims, so that had to be taken into account.
I think the identity of the other side was respected during the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, as the Prime Minister of Israel was not here.
Because somehow we were in control, we were the coordinators of the meeting. But this meeting is done in Washington, and is convened in Washington, and is organized by the Americans, who actually pay very little or attention or heed to the cultural identity. On the contrary, they are trying to suppress this identity, because there is a bigger plan in the region. That's the plan of Greater Israel.
Yes, and we have seen, as you mentioned, Doctor, that the ceasefire is not fully being implemented by the Israeli side. But what about the other side of the story, the other side of the agreement, the reconstruction, the role of Egypt in the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, the role of the Arab and the Gulf and the Islamic countries in the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, especially after participating in the Board of Peace meeting? How do you see the future of the reconstruction of the Strip?
I see that we are putting the car before the horse, because you cannot start with reconstruction when you have not achieved ceasefire. The ceasefire has not really been materialized. I mean, every day tens of people are killed and skirmishes are everywhere. Demolition is raging. Again, every few minutes or every few hours there is a house demolished. People are uprooted. So in that kind of condition, how can you speak about reconstruction? You're telling me I'm out on the street and you're telling me that we will construct a fine house for you. Take me back to my house first. Stop the fire. Make a real ceasefire. Who is responsible for overseeing the ceasefire? Nobody is responsible for overseeing the ceasefire. One thing about peacekeeping troops or peacemaking troops, it has to take the agreement of both sides, a promise on both sides that there will be no fire. Now, one side is being hit, the other side is careless, just goes on to implement its plan, and people are talking about the ceasefire. There is no ceasefire. As I said, there is a lull. There is a subsidy of exchange of fire. So let us put the cart before the horse, not the other.
In order.
In order.
Yes.
So the order is not right. I'm just amazed that now people are talking in that meeting or in another meeting about the second phase of the plan, when you have not fully, not even partially implemented the first phase. The first phase contained commitments on the parts of the Palestinians and the Israelis. The Palestinians have fulfilled their commitments fully. Everybody was released. Even the dead will be returned back to the Israelis. What have the Israelis done? The Israelis are still in 2/3 of Gaza. The fire is being exchanged, not exchanged, fire is being directed at the Palestinians, killing them in hundreds and sometimes in thousands. So the first phase is not over yet. Let's do with the first phase first, and then we speak about the second phase. But speaking on about the second phase, when the first phase has not been done, I think it's sort of putting things not in order, out of order.
And focusing on the statements by Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli rejecting the annexation of the West Bank, what is the importance of mentioning the West Bank, not just the Gaza Strip or the implementation of the ceasefire or the reconstruction of the Strip for the future?
Of course, this is very important because these are going to be the constituents of the future Palestinian people. This is one thing. The other thing is, Israel is doing in the West Bank what it is doing in Gaza, though in a different form. Houses are being broken into. People are being dismissed out of their homes. People are beaten. People are killed. It's a war. So in Gaza there is a war. In the West Bank there is a war. In Lebanon there is a war. In parts of Syria there is a war. There is no ceasefire in the true sense of the word. There is a subsidy of fire, that's true, but this should not be taken as a ceasefire, a genuine ceasefire. I'm not calling it that, unfortunately. This is too much. This is too much. And again, the tenacity is increased in Ramadan. I remind you, this is what happens every single year. At Islamic holidays, things do happen, are planned to take effect at that time in particular. Many things, I don't have to give you examples, I'm sure that you
as we have seen in the past
you
couple of
have seen that before. So there is a strategy. There is a strategy to break the will of the people. I mean, the Palestinian people, the Arab people, the Islamic people, there is a will to break that. I don't know why we don't mention that. I think that should be mentioned in meetings. Our officials should raise that in those meetings and at least make the other side realize that we know exactly what they are trying to do.
You've mentioned the essential role of Egypt and that it is different to the role of the other countries participating in the Board of Peace meeting, especially from Saudi Arabia on the financial front, Indonesia, Morocco, and the other countries who pledged support for the Gaza Strip in the future. What distinguishes the role of Egypt in terms of the aid, the humanitarian aid, the training of the police forces, the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip? How do you see the role of Egypt being distinguished than the other participating countries in the Board of Peace meeting?
I'll give you an example to make the distinction between the two sides, or the one side, Egypt on one side and the others on the other side. If a fire breaks in my house, the fire broke out in my house, some people will just enter into the house, get some water, get something to extinguish the fire,
yes,
and help me save whatever I have in the house or rearrange the house.
Yes.
Other people will be standing outside and saying, very good, you're doing fine, go this way, go that way, I'll give you a chair instead of the chair that was burned, etc., etc. So there is a difference between the role played by Egypt, which is considering Gaza as a part and parcel of an entity, because Gaza was a part of Egypt at some time under a certain set of circumstances, and the Gazans are very much like the Egyptians. And when I went to Gaza, like I went to Gaza 10 years ago, I never felt that I was not in Egypt. It's like if I close my eyes and I'm in Banha, or I'm in Fayoum, I am in certain parts of Cairo. No difference at all. So I don't know. I mean, the role is different. Egyptians, when they go and help the Gazans, they know what Gaza is like. They know how Gaza works, and they just do their role properly and with emotions, because they believe in what they are doing, not because they believe they are helping the other people. They're helping themselves. This is the difference.
So the Gazans believe that Egypt deal with the Palestinians, especially in the Gaza Strip, as citizens of the same region, as citizens of the same homeland.
Yes, they do. They do. I was there. I'll tell you something that happened to me.
Yes.
I was on a mission to Gaza, and we lived in a hotel. We stayed at the hotel. Vis-a-vis the hotel, there was a mosque. Somehow I behaved, when I am in Egypt, I forget that I'm working for this or that, or I have an entity somewhere. So I heard the azan for Maghrib, so I just went out of the hotel
to pray
in the mosque. It took me like half an hour or 35 minutes, and then I came back to the hotel, and the whole hotel was upside down. Mostafa Abbas left and probably will never come back again. He was taken hostage. I said, what's wrong with you guys? I wanted to pray, but I said, no, you are under instructions. That's what they told me.
Yes.
Under instructions not to leave the hotel without guard. You have to be guarded. I said, okay, I got your point. This is how it is. I felt that I'm in Egypt.
Yes.
I was treated very nicely, very respectfully. Nobody even cared. I mean, I went to pray and I came back. So you are talking about a part of Egypt.
citizens of the same Arab
Exactly,
world.
for thousands of years. I'm not
Yes.
talking about tens or 20s or hundreds of years, of thousands of years.
How do you see the balance that Egypt had during the aggression by the Israeli occupation forces against Palestine, which is still ongoing in some way in the Gaza Strip, but more specifically between 2023 and the end of 2025 for more than 2 years? How did you see the balance that was stricken by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi between the national security interests of Egypt and the humanitarian and the political interests of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip?
Humanitarian aid is given to people when there is no fighting. As long as the fighting is going on, you cannot provide humanitarian aid. This is the basic rule in any agreement between two states or two entities or two warring factions. So you cannot go into Gaza to provide humanitarian assistance when there is fire. When you go in, then you shoot fire. And we are not supposed to shoot fire at the moment. I mean, we are we have agreements. We have legal agreements.
We're abiding by them.
We're abiding
Yes.
by them, and we're having the other party abide by them as well. If we break them, the other party would break.
What does
And
this say about the strength of Egypt militarily and politically, Doctor? Because you mentioned that there is aggression by the Israeli occupation forces against Palestine, of course, against Lebanon in the south, against Syria, sometimes Iran, but not Egypt. What does this say about us?
It says, as I said, that we have respected, we have adhered to our political commitments, and we have arms. We have a strong, relatively a strong army.
Yes.
That can keep the land of Egypt, that can keep our borders. So this is the situation that has been going on for now, say 25 years, 30 years.
Yes.
So this is continuing, thanks of course to Egyptian diplomacy. Egyptian diplomacy has played a very important role in that.
Yes, and hopefully it will continue. Dr. Mostafa Abbas, the international relations expert, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
You're welcome.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. However, I will be leaving you with the latest presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi that took place over the past week, all wrapped up in the upcoming report. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is briefed during the meeting on the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energies plan to secure electricity supply for citizens during the upcoming summer months. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnesses the swearing-in ceremony of the newly appointed governors and deputy governors. The ceremony is attended by the Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli and Minister of Local Development and Environment Dr. Manal Awad. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi speaks by phone with the President of the Central African Republic, Faustin Archange Touadera. President al-Sisi congratulates him on his re-election for a third term. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is briefed on ongoing preparations for the holy month of Ramadan. Discussions center particularly on the availability of high-quality food commodities at affordable prices. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi receives a phone call from Prince Fahd bin Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the governor of the Tabuk region in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He extends his greetings to the President on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi extends his greetings on his official Facebook page. He writes, "I extend my heartfelt greetings to the Egyptian people as well as the Arab and Islamic nations. I pray to Allah the Almighty to fill this month with mercy, blessings and security for all, and that He may grant us peace and stability." President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi receives a phone call from the President of the Republic of Tunisia, Kais Saied. The Tunisian President extends his greetings to President el-Sisi on the occasion of the advent of the holy month of Ramadan. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets with the Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Mr. Hassan Abdullah. The meeting reviews developments and achievements in the banking sector and monetary policy during 2025. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of the Republic and Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, attends a ceremony honoring the former Minister of Defense, General Abdel Majid Saqr.